So this is the final session of a very long day, and we're taking the opportunity, as we have most of the Joomla leadership teams here at J & Beyond, to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves and to say what they do and to say what's happening, and most importantly, to give you the opportunity to put them on the spot and ask them questions. So I'm going to shut up and pass it over to Paul.
Hi y'all, my name is Paul Orwig. I'm the president of Open Source Matters, and we have the president of the board of directors of Open Source Matters. And Open Source Matters is one of 3 leadership teams on the Joomla project, along with the production leadership team and community leadership team that you'll also be hearing from in a second. What Open Source Matters is responsible for is primarily the legal, financial, and organizational support for the project as a whole. So let me first just go ahead and introduce the rest of the OSM board members that are here, as well as a couple of them that aren't here. We have Alton Sook Tumerjangle. We call him Sook for short, and he's the leader of our capital committee, which is responsible for raising funds and finding sponsors. Marika Stuvenberg, who's our contact for the demo hosting contract that we have with Cloud Access, and she also works and helps out with internationalization efforts. Jacques Rinsky, who's our vice president, and Jacques is also a lead for the trademark team that manages or helps to manage some of those aspects. Diane Henning, who manages the Joomla shop at shop.joomla.org. And Javier Gomez. Javier also helps with internationalization and other projects for us. Paulo Grittner. Sorry, Thomas, I'll come to you last. Paulo Grittner, who's a new board member who just joined us in April. We've also got, who else did I miss? Oh, Robert, I'm sorry. Robert Dutz.
No, I moved to the PLT.
All right. And Robert manages the events for the project, and along with this as one of them. So Paulo's a new board member, just joined in April. We've got Thomas Hampton, who's our treasurer. So he takes care of the accounting and financial aspects. Thomas is also relatively new since April. Ofer, is Ofer here?
It should be.
Come on up, Ofer. Doggone it. I knew I was looking for our missing board members. That's why I missed Robert and Thomas. This is Ofer Cohen, and Ofer is also another new board member. So we've got representation from Israel, Mongolia, Netherlands, South Africa, United States, Germany, Spain and Costa Rica, United States, and Brazil. We've got 2 other board members, Alice Grevet, who's our secretary, she's from France, and Lionel and Canton, who's from Guatemala. Thanks. So that's your OSM board of directors, and those are some of the functions that we work on. Now I'm going to turn it over to who from PLT is going to, you guys talk. Chris Davenport, thank you.
Okay, the PLT, not all of us are here. I think there are 7 in total, of which 3 of us are here. So I'm Chris Davenport, and my main area of responsibility is documentation, but I do sort of dabble in other things as well, including search just recently. Sorry, I'm too far from the mic. Then we have Andy Tarr, who is, well, I don't know what you introduce yourself. Come on, that's a way to do it.
I do a number of different things, but right now I seem to be primarily involved in trying to get more people involved in the development of Joomla.
I'm Mark Dexter, and main thing I do is run the bug squad, coordinate the bug squad.
And we got CLT over here.
Hi, I'm Olaf. I'm originally from Germany, but I'm living in Ireland, and I'm a member of the CLT. There's 3 of us here at the moment. There's one more coming, and yeah, I just give you that one. Oh, which 3 ones? Huh? But community leadership team. We look after the websites, like the content, certain aspects of the community, like the forums, for example, or the extension directory, or the other aspects of the community which are not related to code or to other aspects of it.
I'm Isidro Vaquero. I'm from Spain, and I'm in charge of the upcoming template directory. And I also participate in other areas, community related. I participate in the forums or in JPeople and translation teams. And I'm just one of the. Well, actually, the 3 of us that are here are recent members of the CLT. The former members have not been able to come, but we're 8. I think you didn't say that, actually. We're 8 members in the CLT. And that's Sander.
Thank you. I'm Sander Potjer from the Netherlands. That's me. I've brought my fan club. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Mom. No, I'm in a CLT responsible for the Joomla user groups, involved with that. And another project I will work on in upcoming months is upgrading the Joomla websites family, and also see where we can merge some sites. We have quite a lot of them, meanwhile. So we will see in how far we can maybe merge a bit to make it easier, so we don't have to upgrade 30 websites, but just 10 maybe. Okay, so that's a short introduction. And the next part is questions. Right, Brian?
So if anyone's got a question that we want to ask any of either a specific team or a specific person, just stick your hand up, I'll wait and I'll come to you with the microphone.
Question for Sander, actually. Are you going to be upgrading everything to 2.5, or is the window long enough that we should even look at like 3.0 once we start? You know what I'm saying? By the time that you're done upgrading and combining 30 sites, it could be quite a while. And coming from the template side of that, which I'm sure I'll be having some kind of role, I'm interested in the easiest process as possible.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Of course, we have a lot of websites at the moment, and upgrading is, of course, one thing, but merging sites is another big, interesting discussion. And it's also important to think ahead, how we can create a structure that's easily to extend a current website with some more information instead of creating a new website. So at the moment, we're just looking into all the details. What websites do we have? What is the purpose of the website at the moment? Which areas we can merge? So we don't know exactly when it's all be done. That's currently in the mate. Several already offered to volunteer and help with that, and we will come up with a proposal for that. We will get some feedback of the community as well, of course, and then the actual migration merging will start, and some will be quicker, some will be a bit longer. Yeah, some sites are really complicated at the moment. So it's not, you know from yourself, from your own projects, each migration is different. So, but I really hope that we can get some 1.5 website to 2.5 as soon as possible, and maybe directly to 3.0 after that, with the one-click upgrade. So.
Anybody else? Questions? Come on, don't be shy. They're all here. They're all looking very scared.
A poll question. Kyle, at the beginning of the afternoon, said there are 4 interest groups in Joomla. There are the designers, the developers, the implementers, and the users. And it would be quite interesting to see how these groups are represented in the leadership team. So, who is a designer? Who is an extension developer? Who is an implementer? Who is an end user of a Joomla site? Thank you.
Anybody else? I knew somebody was going to make me run. This is my exercise for the year.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a questions about the upcoming template directory. Actually, two questions. Do you have any ideas of the some specific date about the release of template directory and the size of the support team behind it? Because as I can imagine, there will be a lot of work, much more than extensions directory.
Actually, we're having a talk tomorrow at 5 o'clock, I think, where there are 3 people from the template directory team here: Kyle Ledbetter, Pedro Gonzalez, who is there, and me, and we're going to try to answer all these questions. And also, we'd like to have we invite you all because we're looking for some feedback from you before even we're going to show what we have at this moment, but there are some points where we have doubts about which path we should be following, and we would like to hear your feedback before starting. So for any question of this type, I invite you to come tomorrow. I think it's not sure, it's 5 o'clock. Maybe. Okay. 5 o'clock. I think it's at the very end of the day, right? Any?
You have to run.
Back there. Right.
Someone in back, please.
No, I don't think this person's allowed to ask a question.
Which one of you will participate in the Joomla performance run tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.?
So for those of you that didn't realize, tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., Michelle is leading the Joomla performance run, which is a friendly, non-competitive run around the park area. And if you want to join in, the meeting point will be the hotel lobby, and that's at 7 o'clock in the morning. And if you oversleep tomorrow, don't worry, you get another opportunity to do the same thing on Sunday morning as well. So yes, anybody else with a question?
I'm a little bit interested in semantic HTML5. For example, you get the opportunity to say, please be XZM XHTML conform. And will this be possible in future Joomla releases, just to have also semantic HTML5, like a nav, aside? I don't know.
Yes, we are looking at doing HTML5.
There's always the best questions with a very simple answer.
I have a question regarding the multilingual capabilities of Joomla. So, actually, are there any plans to build kind of like a real comprehensive multilingual capabilities, something like in a sense of Joomfish or something like that, to build into the core? Not like to do like duplicating of the content, but rather to translation of the item and the modules and the other stuff. Thank you.
My understanding is that at least in the near term, the plans are to continue incremental improvement of the capabilities we have now. I don't think there are any immediate plans for expanding that to something that would be similar to a Joomfish or something like that. Is that your guys' understanding? Yeah. So I think we're looking at incremental improvement. I think the vision that and it's primarily been Jean-Marie's notion is to have a simple but limited solution in core, but not try to do sort of the one size fits all solution and replace all the other multilingual extensions.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Hi. I'd be interested to hear if you are happy with the way the leadership works in Joomla. For example, if three leadership teams are not enough or too many, or if you see improvements in any organizational things or decision-making processes or community input or something like that. I'd like to hear from experienced members.
On the basis that you're the nearest one.
So that's a good question, and my short answer is I think that our combined leadership teams, we've got some opportunities to improve in that area in terms of our collaboration, communication, decision making, and our structure. We had a summit in San Jose in July of last year where we met for 3 days, and the single most discussed and talked about topic was changing our leadership structure to try to improve in those areas. And we came out with a proposal for how we might do that. We asked for feedback from the community. We got over 220 posts in a public forum on the JPeople site. That was after we posted a blog about the proposed set of changes. And since then, we've kind of stalled out in terms of what do we actually decide to do in terms of implementing some changes or remaining as we are. So we formed a working group about a month ago that Javier Gomez from OSM was on, and Peter Martin from the community leadership team was on, as well as 3 other community members, Jeremy Wilkin, Christine Groff, and Alan Langford, to study the issue in more detail and provide some more specific recommendations, which they've done. And now, immediately after JN on Monday and Tuesday, for those of us who can remain, we're going to have another leadership joint meeting to try to discuss those proposals in more detail and come back with some kind of plan in terms of a final decision one way or the other, including a time frame to potentially implement it if we're going to make some changes. So I think beyond that, there's probably a range of feelings amongst the different leaders in terms of, if we feel like change is a good idea or the status quo is a good idea. So I'm not going to speak for anybody else on the combined leadership in regards to that. Is there anybody else that wants to address or respond to that? Okay. Thanks.
I've got 2 questions. The first one is relating to the CMS. Would it be possible to add some sort of content publishing where we can have content saved as a draft and then reviewed? So that's the first question. The second one is, it's a bit more of a controversial one. Will the leadership teams be held accountable for any goals that they set?
Okay, so let's do this in 2 separate questions because someone's greedy. So let's deal with the first part, which is, will there be the opportunity to have, content versioning or saving as a draft?
In terms of specific features, the versioning control is something that is on the ideas.joomla.org and is very popular. We don't have anything specific planned for the 3.x series. If we do go ahead and get the UCM in, that'll make it fairly easy to add it in at the 4.x series. One of the issues here is that as with any particular feature that we talk about or that the community wants, somebody's got to code it. And right now we haven't had people stepping up to be coding that particular feature. And I think that would, in terms of the PLT and some of the responsibility for meeting the goals, I know for the PLT we see what the expectations are. I mean, we have certain expectations and goals that we try to meet, but we're not standing here and programming it. We have to try to encourage people from the community to step forward and to do this kind of programming, and we need to try to, lower actual or perceived bars that there are there in order to get the people to help on that. But it is something that to a certain extent is out of our control. Again.
I just add that that's a really good example of something that if somebody posted on the Dev CMS list that, hey, I'm going to do, this is what I've got, this is what I'm talking about doing on versioning, and got feedback, and people were saying, yeah, that would be good, even if it's transitional, even if it's something that could be better eventually. It's a top item on the ideas list. Obviously, the community is very interested in that. So if somebody stepped forward with a specific proposal that looked good and had code behind it, I think there's a very good chance it would get in. But on the other hand, if somebody doesn't, then it's something that's not going to get in.
Oh, okay. So to answer also to answer on the second part of the question, Robert wants to volunteer to tackle that one.
Yeah, no problem. So I have a lot of goals on my list. So you can blame me personally for any goal I not reach. So I think we when we set goals, then we have to be responsible for not reaching a goal. So when I'm not responsible for it, so then it makes no sense to set goals. So that's my short answer to this. Maybe anyone else? No. Okay.
Yeah, I'll just say in a general sense, I think that accountability, we can, as leadership, and for all of us who are contributing and interacting and helping in the project, I think there's a principle of accountability which is valid and important, especially in a project as large as ours that has, that touches people all over the world, millions of websites and thousands of people that depend on Joomla for their income. Accountability is important, and setting goals are important. We sometimes do well and we sometimes don't do so well in terms of our accountability for that, and that's one of the areas that the proposed set of leadership structure changes aims to help improve on in terms of helping to make us more accountable.
Everybody wants to talk on this one.
The only thing I would add, I don't disagree with anything that's been said, but we are all volunteers here, and the one thing that always keeps cropping up in the back of my mind is that when I first started, when I did my first forum post on the forum, or my first contribution to the Docs wiki or something, it was a really good feeling, and it was all positive. It wasn't like, well, I didn't answer 10 questions. It was, I answered one question. And I think there's a risk of losing that positive, because if we, especially once you've been around the project, everybody up here and probably all of you out there have 100 things on our to-do list that we'd love to do, and it's really easy at the end of every day to think, God, I didn't do that, I really wanted to get this done, this has been hanging out there for months. But somehow, if we lose the joy of the thing that we did do, and the thing that we did contribute back, I really worry that's really a sad thing. And I think that's true for just as true for those of us in leadership as it is for anybody volunteering.
Okay, we have one from the interwebs. CNP Support tweets in, how will the leadership keep Joomla competitive with other open source but corporate-backed CMS systems?
Okay, who am I going to choose?
So in terms of fundraising and sponsorships, Joomla's model is at the moment pretty much begware. You know, we beg you to donate money. We beg you guys to be a sponsor and place your logo on a single page of Joomla. And too many sponsors find it not quite attractive, yet we shouldn't be looking to have a corporate backing and also to go so hard for sponsorship and then have banners, sponsor banners all over the Joomla website. You know, I believe the Joomla community wouldn't really appreciate that. However, right at this moment, Joomla Capital community is looking to expand, and we have a proposal that developed by me and my good friend Mike Carson from Chicago community. Proposing revised sponsorship and fundraising activities, and including more frequent big Joomla conferences like this or bigger in more regions, and also provide a little bit more exposure to Joomla potential sponsors, and also a little bit more requirements to have more Joomla and community-related sponsors approaching us. We are looking into these ways. So corporate backing is probably not one of the ways that we are looking into. And I think Paul would agree that we are not really actually short on cash. You know, we are doing pretty good, and of course we are looking to grow steadily and being able to give more to the community with the funds available.
So thanks, Suk. Another twist on that question, if it's about how's Joomla as a non-corporate backed CMS going to compete effectively with other CMSs that are corporate backed? That's a great question. I was at CMS Expo last week in Chicago, and I represented Joomla alongside about 15 other CMSs that were many of which were corporate backed, venture capital backed. None of them were as big as Joomla in terms of number of websites installed, but many of them were bigger than Joomla in terms of the number of paid staff that they have, which for us is 0, so all of them are bigger than us in that regard. In terms of number of dollars in consulting engagements that some of those other projects have is bigger than us again. I think, to me, the real challenge for Joomla compared to some of those other commercially backed CMSs is that they have an advantage of having a real strong central focus, a real strong set of goals, a real strong direction for their project. And that's another area where I feel that Joomla has some opportunity to improve, another area that I think the leadership structure changes can hopefully address if we get those agreed to. And I don't think that Joomla necessarily wants or needs to be one of the biggest, most popular content management systems in the world. For me, what my goal is that Joomla would reach its potential for us as a community-backed, volunteer contributor project. And so I'd be thrilled if we can just do our best to empower the community fully and really show the world what's possible when we're able to do that. And to me, if we're able to do that, Joomla's successful regardless of what our market share is compared to other commercial CMSs.
I think we have time for one last question.
Hello, it's more of a feature request again, or basically with the emails, most components have got to create their own email log, so they've got to store because you don't have a cron. With Joomla 3, are you, with the new schedule task system, are you looking at possibly scheduling emails as well? So not each component has to create their own email system?
They're just having a little debate first.
Well, I think if I understand the question correctly, there's two aspects to it. One is one of the things that somebody in their presentation earlier was I think it was Joe was talking about the lack of a good cron manager inside the CMS, and then the second aspect of that would be the ability to do emails from the command line. Is that a correct interpretation of the question?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
But at the same time, at the moment, you've got a lot of components which require cron being for each individual.
Right. So the right. So yeah. I think that there's a summer of code project to sort of start the first piece of getting some centralized control of a scheduler, to deal with cron.
That's unrelated to somebody having to sign on to the website or anything, so it is separate.
Yeah. And that's enabled largely by the CLI, the JCLI class in the platform, which is relatively new. So I think we're going to be seeing some progress in that area. And I know that, for example, one thing that a number of us would like to see is kind of the next logical step in the auto updater, which I think has been a big success. But the next logical step is to be able to be informed that there's an update available without having to sign into the site, which is exactly the same problem, right? You need a cron job to then run the auto update and then obviously trigger an email, because it doesn't do any good, if you haven't, because if you're managing 20 sites that you rarely log into, then you need to have some kind of a notification. So I think there's definitely going to be work in that direction. And then again, without risk of repeating myself, code is what will get this thing done.
So thank you very much for being very brave and standing up here at the front. Can I encourage everybody to not just wait for sessions like this to ask these people questions? They're here for the whole 3 days. They're not here to have fun like the rest of us. They're here to work. So take the opportunity, grab one of them, pull them into a corner, ask them those tough questions that you weren't brave enough to ask now. They're not that scary, and take the opportunity. Right now, is it right now, Robert? Okay, so right now, the next session takes place. Go out, turn left, follow the smell of the food. We have a barbecue and some beer and some wine. I guess if there's anyone who doesn't drink alcohol, sorry. No, I'm sure there are some soft drinks. Thank you very much to our sponsors for tonight's event, which is eBay, who, as you heard earlier, sadly can't be here right now. Also, during the barbecue and beer drinking time, you will see over on the far left-hand wall a big banner that says Jum Stew. And Diane will be sat over there. If you don't know it, Jum Stew is a weekly podcast. And Diane wants to take the opportunity to chat to, record, interview anybody who wants to go over there and talk. Hopefully this year's Jum Stew recording will actually be broadcastable. There is a secret tape of last year's recording. If anybody wants to listen to it, I think I've got a copy of it on my laptop. It will cost money, either for you to listen to it or for you to pay me not to let other people listen to it. So hopefully this year's will work well. Thank you very much. It's been a very long day. We start again tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, here in this room. Go grab a burger, grab a beer, have a great night. Thank you very much.